everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching In Depth
on Now You Know.
Hey, what are these little minty things that you're got there?
I don't know if you remember, but this was from a little while ago. Maria sent me these little range anxiety pills, which are basically just little peppermint lozenges.
Do you take one before every show?
I do it basically before every show because we have them. We have them behind my head over there, and it's nice, freshens up my breath a little bit. Not that you could smell it, but
I can. So thank you, Maria. Yeah. So our In Depth this week is on Tesla's new building.
Yeah,
there's this new building that Tesla's been expanding in California in the town of Lathrop, which is about an hour away from Fremont. So here's the map of Fremont. And if we zoom out, we can see that over the mountains to the east is Lathrop.
Tesla already has a building in Lathrop.
Right. They've been using this building to store Model 3s after they came out of the Fremont factory when either they weren't ready for delivery yet, like they needed some fixes, or we're not sure exactly why, but storage for cars.
But with the building that we're talking about is just a little ways away from that building.
Right, because it gets a little confusing. So it's not the same building. It basically was just a plot of land and now is being turned into an 870,000 square foot factory, we believe. So we wanted to talk a little bit about this new building because, why are they building a building and how big is 870,000 square feet? Because for most of us, I think that number doesn't mean a whole lot.
Right.
So let's talk about it in relationship to the Giga Factory and to the Fremont factory, because that might help us to figure that, like, the size of it out. And then we're going to kind of give our thoughts as to what we think this factory is all about. Right next door to this plot of land is the Pinkerton glass plant, and that used to make glass for the Toyota GM plant where Fremont factory is now.
I see.
And so this whole area is like a industrial area. So if we look at this map, we'll see, the Pinkerton glass factory, but we'll also see what I think is a very interesting part about this, which is that there's room to expand. So I want you to just keep that in the back of your mind as we're talking about this.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the existing Fremont factory. That is a 5.3 million square foot factory. That gives you some idea about what 5.3 million square feet is. This Lathrop factory, like we said, is going to be 870,000 square feet. So that's about 1/6 the size.
Right.
Jesse and I began thinking, why do you need a factory? First of all, at all.
Or why do you need a building? Because, we don't know that it's a factory. This is all conjecture at this point.
Yeah, my first thought, actually, was, okay, it's just more storage for Model 3s, right? You finish a Model 3, it's not quite perfect. Maybe it's missing a part that a supplier hasn't delivered yet, a headlight or something. You need to store it while you're waiting for that part. But as Jesse pointed out, if that were the case, it would be much cheaper to build a parking lot or a parking garage.
Right. To build a facility that's just flat, on a piece of flat land, it seems like that's less efficient than just, say, buying a parking garage somewhere.
Right. And plus, this would be a lot of cars you'd be storing. It doesn't seem like you would ever need to have that much of a backlog of cars.
Right.
So we kind of threw that idea out the window. Plus, it's an hour away. Does seem kind of dumb if you are going to fix up a car. Why have it be that far away?
It is the same distance as the other Lathrop building. So, I don't want to completely throw this away. But it does, why not just buy an existing building?
Right. So we threw that out. Well, why don't we just let them know what we came to?
Right. We think that this might be where they will produce the Tesla semi-truck.
Yes. So hear us out on this, right? So as we said, this is 1/6 the size of the Fremont factory. A semi-truck, you're not going to be producing in the same numbers as you're producing the S, X, and 3. So we looked into it a little bit, and we found out that there's about 2 million semi-tractors on the roads right now in the United States, and there's 500,000 semis that have been sold in the U.S. in the past 12 months. So that gives you some idea of what the whole market in the U.S. looks like.
And, those sales numbers are up.
Right. 2016, the number of semis sold was about 160,000. So it's really is way up, and that's because shipping is way up. We also thought about whether or not this could be a solar factory. As we know, the Giga Factory 2 is in Buffalo, New York, and that's a 1 million square foot facility. So we immediately thought, wow, that's almost the same size. Maybe they want to build solar panels on the West Coast and the East Coast. And that does make some sense.
Right.
But we kind of thought Giga Factory 2 is already a huge factory, and it's pretty much still underutilized in terms of space as far as we know. So it doesn't seem like it makes a whole lot of sense to be building another whole factory right now at this moment.
Especially because I think that they haven't really perfected the process in Gigafactory 2. They're still going to be ramping up production of the solar roof tiles, which, again, isn't in full volume production because not everyone is getting their roof tiles.
I first thought, okay, why do they need this factory at all? If we're right and it's for the semi-truck, why not just build it at the Gigafactory 1 right here in Sparks, Nevada?
Right.
That's a 5.8 million square foot footprint.
Well, it will be.
Will
and
be.
It's only 1/3 built. So it
Right.
seems like if you're able to make enough batteries for power walls, power packs, all the cars, using all of your existing infrastructure that only uses 1/3 of the Gigafactory footprint, it seems like you could just put anything else in the rest of the Gigafactory.
Right. So the only reason to me that makes sense if you are going to make this Lathrop facility a semi-factory would be the proximity to Fremont in terms of the need for your engineers. Here's my thought. You build this Lathrop facility, it's going to build semis, so it needs a lot of the same production robots and line as you do for your Model 3 and Model S and X. And so you're going to need engineers all the time going from Fremont over to Lathrop to set those robots up with all the knowledge they already have. And I think that makes the most sense because if they have to go to Gigafactory 1 in Sparks, that's like a whole day wasted.
I mean, to be fair, it's not the best commute to go from Bay Area over to Lathrop.
Right, it's an hour drive.
Right. But, I mean, that's not terrible.
No.
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
And I would argue the other benefit you get from being in Lathrop, if it's going to be a production facility, is you get a whole new labor pool. This is a new valley, so you're getting people from a new area to work at your factory. Whereas I've got to believe that right now at Fremont, you're probably already stretching it to its parking limit, to its transportation limit, traffic, like getting people in. We're talking, 9 or 10,000 parking spaces. Like
Right.
it's crazy.
And it's right in the Bay Area, so the cost of living is a lot higher. So, I mean, that means that homes and apartments cost a lot more, which means that you need to be paying your employees more just to live and work.
And Lathrop is right in line with Sparks, Nevada. So basically, as you can see, you go Sparks, Nevada with your powertrains and your batteries, right down to Lathrop, right to Fremont. So they're all in a line, which to me explains why they bought this area. And as we mentioned earlier, if you look at the map here, it's in kind of a dead end here, where it looks like if they need to expand as they make more semis, I think they can easily take over a parcel right next to them. There's farmland around there. There's lots of less expensive land. And so it seems like it's easy for expansion. Now, the other reason we think it's for the semi, that is the next slated release from Tesla. We know that, the Model Y is coming out, but we know that that's not coming out till after the semi and after the Roadster.
Right.
So I will even throw this out there, Jesse. Is it possible that this is also for the Roadster production?
I think it could be. I mean, having a smaller facility, to me, makes me think that it's not necessarily going to be as fast a line, so they're not going to be pumping out as many cars. Another point is that there isn't too much area around it, so you can't just be like pumping out cars and all of a sudden you're like, where do I park it? Where do I park it? Like,
Although if you look on the map, there are a bunch
there's plenty of space that they could take over.
And there's a rail line right there.
Yeah.
This is the rail line, which I'm pretty sure they must have only been looking for properties on this rail line. This is the same rail line that connects Fremont, so they can easily use rail if they need to transport things.
That's definitely true. But I'm thinking that this is probably for the semi. I'm imagining, the first couple hundred semis are probably going to be mostly hand-built, just like most cars, to get the process down in terms of what you need. And then I think they can start to replace that with robots. And again, having it right on the rail line means that you're going to be able to ship parts in from Giga Factory and also the Fremont factory. So you're going to be sending batteries from the Giga Factory and power units from the Fremont factory. Fremont factory, of course, has the giant presses, giant stamping machines, which they'll probably use to make the body panels. So
Right. So yeah, basically, getting parts from the west, getting parts from the east. And then I had originally thought, well, you can't use this as a factory because you're going to need a paint shop and that's really complicated. But as Jesse pointed out, the semi doesn't have a very complicated paint process, I don't think, compared to a car.
And with less throughput, you don't necessarily need to have it be this sort of like automated assembly line with lots of robots and it's very long to move the things through.
Right.
You can just kind of have a paint shop, just a smaller paint shop.
Could
where
almost
they're
be
just
hand painted, right?
Almost be hand painted, exactly. So I mean, that's our thought. It's not we're not saying this is for sure
No.
or anything like that. That's complete conjecture. I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you look around that area, there are a lot of trucking. I mean, look at how many trailers there are. If you scroll down to the south,
Right.
just trailer after trailer. I mean, which is true of almost every industrial area, but I don't know. I think it'd be smart to have the trucks in between the Giga Factory and the Fremont Factory, so you can, make the truck, send it, go get
Right.
some cars, bring them places, lots of exciting things.
I'm interested to see if we're right, because if we are, it shows that we're kind of onto their way of thinking, which is that, normally you'd think, well, let's just keep expanding Fremont, right? And make it into like a gigafactory. But it's in a location, unlike Sparks, where you can't just keep building out forever. The infrastructure won't support it.
Right.
We've already seen that it's kind of
At its limits. And it's
right.
been at its limits for, I would say, a year and a half.
Right. I mean, luckily they got that new BART station, which makes a huge difference, I've got to imagine. But still, parking is a huge problem.
Right. And you're in the middle of a city. I mean,
Right.
it's you're in Fremont itself.
I mean, as we've traveled there a bunch of times, anywhere near traffic rush hour, it's, really a long
horrific,
commute.
yeah. And I'm just saying, like, having it out over a valley, you're in a different part of the state. I think it's a smart move.
Plus, existing employees at Fremont who might live over in that valley might have new job opportunities so that their commutes are lower.
Right. Very easy to transfer to the closer facility. And again, with the engineers, just being able to be like, oh, we have a problem on that plant. Dave, can you go drive over to Lathrop and go fix the robot issue that they're having?
Right, because many of the same processes that you'll be doing in Fremont, you'll be doing in Lathrop. And so that knowledge transfers very easily.
Right. I've got to imagine, and even if we're just talking about Jerome, the COO, who was had a lot to do with the truck and is now in charge of vehicles in general.
Right, he's probably going to be...
He needs to be zipping back and forth
Exactly.
as well. That's what we think. It could be a semi plant. It could be, I mean, for all we know, it could be a Model Y plant. But regardless, they're building a building. It's exciting. We
Yeah.
don't know what it's going to be yet.
And I think as we get a little more snippets of knowledge, and those of you who live out there who can take pictures from time to time of things being delivered,
Exactly.
that's only going to help us understand it better. And post in the comments what you think it is, because you might have some great insights that we overlooked.
It's a really good point. We only have one picture of the building right now. It was taken from a water tower.
Right. Yeah, we scoured this picture.
We know exactly where it was taken from. We know it was on a water tower. But yeah, like if you're in the area, if you have a drone, if you have a friend with a drone,
Maybe you're a real estate
we
agent.
would love to see some drone footage. We
Yeah.
would love to see some pictures of it. We would love to see the kinds of materials that they're bringing. Like if they have piles of robots and stuff. Good info to know.
That's right.
Anyway,
Fun to conjecture.
fun to conjecture, and we hope that this is going to be. It'd be pretty dumb if we're like, hey, it's going to be this cool factory, and it just turns out that it's another finishing station.
It's a boring company flamethrower rink or
Yeah.
something. Anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. And this week we are sponsored by the great folks over at Avoto in Montreal. They have this great line of T-shirts, mugs, and you know what they also have?
Well, that won't fit in my apartment.
Posters.
You're probably going to want something more like this size.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, head over to Avoto. Here's the link, and pick up some cool merch there and support the guys who have an awesome EV rental company up in Montreal. If
Yeah.
you're ever up in Montreal, call up Sobe and Max, rent a car.
it's like if you want to go to France, but you don't want to fly across the Atlantic.
It's so true.
You just go to Montreal.
Montreal's awesome.
They all speak French. Most of them speak English,
Right.
Which is, got to be honest, better than France.
Yeah. It's like American Paris.
Yeah.
Trademark.
Well, it's not American. It's Canadian. It's like North America.
True.
It's like Paris, North America.
All right. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's better than Epcot Center.
Yeah, anything's better than Epcot Center.
All right. Thank you so much for watching.
Now you know.